You know, every great design begins with a single line, a line that says, this belongs here, and that belongs there. The line is the beginning, it's the part of the structure, it's where we start, but it's not the whole. But structure is the foundation of freedom. And here we're talking about blueprints. We launched our blueprint series last week, and we talked about how do we design a life that holds the change, right? How do we design a life that holds the change that we are making? But here's the truth. Design only matters if it can endure. So tonight, we're talking about how to build boundaries that last for better health. Think about it. Every bridge, every home, every healthy body depends on boundaries. Without them, the structure collapses under its own potential. So thank you for joining me. Hey, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We are creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music to say thank you for coming through. If you do have questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments so that we can get to those as we get through our show tonight. I've got my monitors off to the side, which will take a look at my blood sugars to see what's been happening over the course of this day, over the last couple of days, and also so that you can see what my ketones are right now before we get into our fasts as we do that over the next day or so. Well, thank you for coming through. Special shout out to our accelerator members who are out there and hanging out with us. Thank you for coming through. If you are watching because you saw our content on your church's website, your church's broadcast, you saw it in your doctor's office, you saw it in your community center, or you saw us at one of the health fairs that we've been doing here around town. Thank you for coming through. A special shout out to our folks from Atlanta at Atlanta Berean, and our folks in Nashville, Riverside, and our folks in Louisville, Kentucky. That is the Magazine Street Church there. And then everyone, wherever you are from, whether you're watching us from inside the United States or outside the United States, we welcome you to this space. Go ahead and drop in the comments where you are watching us from. Also, if you've been watching, you know that we launched our Move campaign just a couple weeks ago. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that promotion right now so we can see what that looks like. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Move, metabolic optimization via exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is Move. Let's get started. All right, so very excited about that as we continue to provide a space for you to move. So remember, metabolic optimization via exercise, one of the pillars of our health action plan. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars. And let me go ahead and grab my monitor and pull that up here. So what you're looking at right now, we'll be looking at, this is my Freestyle Libre, and right now you see my Freestyle says that my blood sugar is 60, and down below right about here you see this is my graph. Let's go ahead, I'm going to put my finger on that graph and kind of scroll through. You'll see what has been running over the course of the last 12 hours or so. So this is coming into the morning, and then coming into, let's see if you can see the time there, coming into lunchtime. So we had lunch, and then we went up to about 122, and then back down, and then up a little bit. So right here, so this was after lunch, and so in the office we had, what did we have? We had some Cheez-Its right here. So that's what you see. So this part right here is lunch, right up to there. and then it started coming back down, and then the second spike you see, that was Cheez-It. So we were doing some stuff in the office, and I was in my office, and I found a bag of Cheez-Its, and anyway, it's a whole nother conversation. So right there, so we're going up back up to 20, and then kind of fluctuates over the course of the afternoon, and then back down to where we are right about now. Okay, so that's the that is what my Freestyle Libra is saying. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to pull up my Dexcom clarity or Dexcom report. And my blood sugar, according to Dexcom right now, is 109. And then over the course of the last 24 hours now, let's go ahead and let's look through that. And you see we've been kind of running in the 110s, 150s, 140s for most of the last 24 hours, down to 117, 120, 130. This is coming into the morning this morning, so that's that toothpaste effect that we talk about right there. So we were down in the 110s and then popped up to 130s, 140s. Let's get that back. Okay, there we are. All right, and so into the morning, and so I don't usually eat breakfast. And so right in here was when we started eating lunch. And lunch, and notice that we went up to about 130, 140, 150, and then that right there, right in here is the Cheez-It. So we went back up. Okay, look at that. So down to from 137, and at the time, so one of my team members said, "What's your blood sugar now? Let's see what it's gonna do with the Cheez-Its." And so we went from, on the Libre, it was 80 some, and went up to like 100, 112 maybe. Okay, so that's where we are. And then let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look to see what's going on with my, let's go ahead and see what's going on with my monitors. So here is my Keto Mojo, and here's my Contour. Let's do that. Here we are. We're gonna need a brown for, and let's go one more. There we go. So we need a brown for ketones, or blood sugar, and then we need a blue for ketones. And then just a strip right here for, this is for the Contour. So let's see what that does. Okay. And let's again grab a lancet. And just open up. So this is the brown for blood sugar. Let's get that one in there. And I'm going to open up the ketone one at the same time because, as you know, that's the one that usually gives me some trouble. So I got it open, and I'm just going to leave it off to the side while we go ahead and get the blood sugar. So just get a finger, and I don't usually use a lancing device. So I just have the lancet right there, find a finger, and we've been picking on this finger, so let's go ahead and do that. And ow, ow, ow. Well, actually, that didn't hurt quite that much, so okay, well, it still gives us a pretty brisk drop. Get that on the strip. Same thing here for the Contour. Get those going, and we'll see what those numbers are. So 93 for the Keto Mojo, and 96. And then, of course, let me go back this way. And, of course, right there, you see that the Dexcom says that right now I am 106. So let's go ahead and get this out from the Keto Mojo. We'll get the strip in for the ketone, and I've got a drop. I'm hoping that this one didn't dry. It looks like it's starting to dry. Let's see if we can get this started. Okay, that may work. If not, we'll just have to get another stick. All right, and so so we haven't fasted since last week when we broke so low, right? So ketones that are below 0.5 considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. And so right now we are in the normal range. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and let's say hello to our community members who I see out there. And let's go ahead and do this. And so y'all, I was, so you may have noticed that we came on a little bit late, and I was here and I had started the show and I was talking for a good 7 minutes, and then I realized nobody was responding to me. and nobody's responding to me. And I looked up, and I had started the show, but I had not gone live. So I was there talking. So I got 7 minutes, actually 9 minutes now of video of me talking and doing my intro and going through the process. And I was like, wait a minute, surely somebody would say hi. All right, Teresa saying, hey, doctor and everyone. Hey, Teresa, what's going on? Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. Pamela says, good evening, everyone. Oh, let me go back here so that you guys can see all of this. Yeah, so Teresa says, hi, doctor. Pamela says, good evening, everyone. Steve says, hello, my friends. And so, Steve, is that your guess for my ketones, or is that what your ketones are? So, Steve, your ketones are usually higher. So, I'm assuming that was your guess for what you think my ketones would be. But that, yeah, okay. And so while that, I'm going to actually make an adjustment here to some of my setup. Let's see, this should do it. There we go. Give me just a minute here, guys. There we go. All right, here we are. Just had to make a quick adjustment. And hopefully that looks good. All right. So let's go back. So Steve is saying actually that his, so Teresa's saying hi, Pam and Steve. So Steve's actually saying that his ketones are 2.8, which is what I anticipated, right? That yours would actually be high, because Steve and his folks, they try to remain in ketosis most of the time. So that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing there. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's jump into our conversation for tonight, because we're talking about boundaries. Let's go ahead and do that right now. So I want you to think about this. So every bridge, every home, every healthy body depends on boundaries. Without them, structures collapse. And this is really collapsing under their own potential. So you've heard me talk about people, and you may be in that situation where you've achieved some level of success, whatever it is, right? So your blood sugars are better, your weight's going down, and you're pretty pleased with where you are. You're not at your goal, or you may even be at your goal, and you are like excited about where you are. You see that the scale is ticking, the numbers are going down. You go to your doctor, and they keep, every time you go now, they're saying, oh man, I'm excited, I'm proud of you. And in the back of our minds, we've developed and we've built this structure, we built this thing that seems to be working. Though some of you are on medications, right? Whether it's one of the GLP-1s that everybody's talking about, but you've built it into your program and it's working. The weight's going, the blood sugars are better, the blood pressure is better, the cholesterol is coming down. You're exercising, you're walking, whatever it is, you're getting to bed on time, and there's this sneaky suspicion that begins to creep in that says, I wonder, is this going to last? Yeah. So in this next discussion that we're going to have, what we'll do is we'll build kind of a boundary blueprint. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the different pieces. We'll explore the science, the structure, the framework, and the practice. Then we'll finish with a reflection, a challenge for you to say, hey, how do we implement this? This is what is going to help us as we move through our space. So, there is science. There's science to stability, right? So how do we build boundaries is what we're talking about. And there is science that goes with it, right? There's an architecture that goes with it. There is stability that goes with it. And so we want to make sure that we are doing all that we can to move in the direction of being successful. So let me back up. When an architect designs a building, the walls don't limit the creativity. They actually make creativity possible. The blueprint that they have defines the purpose. The kitchen isn't the garage. The window isn't the foundation. And your life functions like that. It's no different. Healthy boundaries define function. And there are 3 general boundaries that we talk about or that we need to include in our lives if we're going to have success. And I want you to be writing this down. The first one is a time boundary. Time boundary. I spent a lot of time recently reevaluating how I spend my time. Reevaluating how I structure my time. In fact, I had to go back and revamp my organizational structure and the things I use to stay organized. Because I realized that there were some things in that domain, those domains of health, that were not being optimized. So, time boundaries. Decide when you work, when you move, when you rest, even when you eat. And let the schedule protect the decision. Often what happens to us is when we are looking and we're doing things, we have created, quote unquote, a boundary, but we're actually not living in the boundary. So we allow other things to cause problems for the boundary. And so what ends up happening is even though we have something there that is supposed to be a boundary, it doesn't function like a boundary. So do we have a consistent sleep-wake cycle, for example? When we do, there are things that go on in our body that go beyond the fact that we just put that on our calendar. Our hormones regulate. Cortisol gets better. Melatonin gets better. A fixed rhythm reduces insulin spikes. A fixed food rhythm, eating rhythm, decreases the spike. One of the things I spent the time talking about this today to a patient was they had made a decision about the kind of schedule they were going to have with their food. And I was pointing out to them that the schedule that they had put on, that they had decided to do, was constantly causing insulin spikes. So one of the reasons they weren't losing weight was because there was always some insulin that was coming out, and they were not honoring their boundaries, the time boundaries. Things had crept in when they shouldn't. The next is an energy boundary. Energy boundary. So guarding your energy. Every yes that you say to something costs energy. So you want to guard it like currency. If you say yes to something over here, then you're going to have to say no to something over here. My wife I always hear her say this with her clients. What you're saying yes to means that something else is being said no to. And so the things that we want to say yes to cost energy. You want to give priority to the things that fuel your mission, not the things that flatter you in the moment. I want you to listen to that part right there. So there are things that are going to, at this moment, they're going to say, man, I want to do that. That's going to make me feel good right now. The question is, when I'm done with that, do I have the energy that is required to do some of the other things that I say I want to do to take me in the direction of good health? And if the answer is no, then guess what? That's violating my energy boundary. And the next boundary is an emotional boundary. Not every alert, not every argument, not every opinion deserves your attention. I'm going to pause there for a minute. We said it again. Not every alert, not every argument, not every opinion deserves your attention. There are some things that people are going to say, that people are going to do, that are outside of me. I don't have to comment about everything. I don't have to get emotionally involved in everything. When you let everyone else have access to your emotions, you lose access to your peace. Because you get tied up into their whatever is going on. As one of my members told me, you can heal. You can't heal in chaos. Because when you're in chaos, when things are going on, when emotions are coming, right, your cortisol levels go up. You want to build walls around your calm. You want to protect those. So boundaries aren't barriers. They're blueprints. They don't shrink your life. They actually shape your purpose. And so structures don't limit us. It doesn't limit our potential. It actually defines our potential. Often we find ourselves thinking that the structure is causing us difficulty when it's actually not causing us difficulty. It is actually doing for us what we need it to do. Right? So once again, we're talking about how do we build those boundaries and how do we keep those in the space so that it takes us in the direction that we want to do. How do we build boundaries that last? So let's talk a little bit about the science of stability. The science of stability. So our bodies are the perfect example of boundaries when it's done right. Every system in your body, your blood sugar, your blood pressure, your body temperature, all of them live within specific limits, specific parameters. When you eat, insulin goes up. When you rest, cortisol goes down. When you cross those boundaries too often, then the system begins to get dysregulated. That's the whole idea behind metabolic dysfunction. Now, that same principle governs sustainable health. When you fast too long, eat too late, sleep too little, you violate the natural architecture of your biology. And your body responds with fatigue, with cravings, with irritability, and with weight gain. So boundaries keep you in biological balance. They tell your body what to expect and when to expect it. That consistency builds metabolic trust. Let me share a quick story. I had a patient, let's call her Maria. She was doing intermittent fasting. And so she felt great. She was seeing results. She was seeing changes in her body. Blood sugar was getting better. And so she said, well, I'm going to do more of this. So she started fasting longer, staying up longer to do other things, right? Because she's having all this energy. She thought that more restriction in terms of food meant more results. Instead, her blood sugars started spiking. What do you think is happening? Well, she's becoming more stressed. So cortisol is probably surging. And her weight stalled. Why? Because she had crossed her body's boundaries. Because it wants us in a certain space. So how do we fix that? We pulled her back to a simple 16 and 8 rhythm. Add in an evening wind down, right? Those bookends that we do. How do we journal and all those things? And within weeks, everything started to get better. She didn't change her effort. She changed her edges. She changed the boundaries. So boundaries don't restrict your health. They actually regulate your success. So if science shows that stability depends on boundaries, the thing we want to talk about is how do we build them into our lifestyle? That's the goal. How do we take this into a space that helps us to sustain what we want to do? So your issue is often not that you don't know or don't want to or that you can't. The issue is that we don't have the proper architecture, right? So let's talk a little bit about the boundary framework. The boundary framework and what that looks like and what it means for our health. Let's do that right now. So every strong structure begins with a framework. I remember when I was growing up, we actually, I was in the choir. Actually, I was in the choir for, I guess they called it Glee Club back then. For a lot of my early years into junior high and even high school. And so I grew up in New York. So there were a lot of the structures that are currently around New York City. We would go and we would sing, right? Like the Jacob Javits Center that's now there. And so we would sing. And so we would sing as part of the groundbreaking or part of the grand opening, the ribbon cut, whatever it was. And so I got a chance to see a lot of structure. And of course, in New York at the time, they were building anyway, building a lot of stuff. And all the things that I saw built, and even now, if you go around and you see them putting something up, you see the framework. The plan that turns intention into design. So I look at some of these things, I'm like, I wonder what that's going to be. But they have the blueprint, and they've put the frame up, and then all of a sudden you see them adding different components, and oh, that's what that is. When you look at the healthiest people, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's not that they have perfect discipline. They have a framework. So often we admire and we look at people and we say, man, I wish I could be as disciplined as they are. Do you know why they're disciplined? Because they have framework, because they have a process. They have the structure around them that does not allow for motivation to be the driving force behind what they do. Frameworks make progress predictable. Frameworks turn willpower into workflow. So here's the boundary framework. 3 steps that give shape to success. Once again, I want you to grab a piece of paper, grab your journal. Number 1 is define. So ask yourself, where am I leaking energy? Because remember we talked about the architecture, their energy, right? The boundaries. Where am I leaking energy? Maybe it's late night snacking. Maybe it's doom scrolling. Or saying yes to everything. You can't strengthen what you haven't identified. Naming it lets you express, lets you see, lets you evaluate the leak that exposes the weakness. So number 1, define. Where is it that I'm having the problem? Number 2, design. You want to replace restrictions with intention. It's not, I'm not going to eat that. I am not going to do this. I am not, right? So we're not restricting. What we're saying is, okay, what am I going to do? So don't say, I'll stop eating junk. I'll prepare a balanced bite snack at 3 p.m. Notice I threw the word snack in there. Right? So design makes the healthy choice automatic. We're pre-deciding. We're designing something. We're not just letting this be by chance. So what do? Right, we define, what is it? Where am I leaking? Number 2, we design as opposed to restricting. And then number 3, we defend. Protection isn't the goal. Protection is what? Protection is the thing that puts a border, a boundary around what we're doing. So let me say that again. It is what guards everything else. So if I had to rephrase that, I would say perfection isn't the goal. Protection is the goal. Boundaries flex. They don't fracture. When life shifts, we adapt. We don't abandon. One of the things that happens when life is lifing is that we totally disregard the boundaries. Like, I'll get back to that later. So the boundary has the ability to buffer. It has the ability to absorb. It has the ability to change and shift. And we have to give it that ability, because if we're too rigid, and notice what I said earlier, right? The restriction, I am never, like, I have people come into the office and, they really recently had some event. They were diagnosed with diabetes, officially now. They've been pre-diabetic, all of a sudden, okay, you're diabetic. Or they've had a stroke, they've had a heart attack, they've had some thing that went on in their life. Somebody else, a family member passed away, a friend passed away, whatever it is. And they come in and say, okay, that's it. I'm never again eating, and they pick whatever whatever their thing of choice is. And that happens because of fear. And they can do that for a while, a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, a year maybe. And then one day, something happens. And because the boundary, and that was one of their restrictions, right? So they thought that was a boundary. My boundary is I'm never eating that thing again. Well, because of the restriction and because of the tension that they've developed, when something happens that pushes so hard that it pushes through, quote unquote, the boundary, then the boundary breaks and gets destroyed. Which is why you hear me say, allow yourself grace in the boundary. Allow yourself to whatever that thing is that you're going to eat. Yeah, I'm going to have some of that. I just need to control it. So that's what separates structure from struggle. It's not a control issue, it's a clarity issue. When you define it, you design it, you defend it, what you're doing is you're creating boundaries that build momentum instead of guilt. Yeah? So that's the framework. We define, we design, and we defend. When we do that, then what we're doing is we're building those boundaries. We're putting together the things that are going to help us move in the direction of being successful. So now we've built the frame. Now let's power it, because every great design needs a living engine that keeps it moving and keeps it evolving. So this is the inner design loop. The inner design loop. The inner design loop has 3 components: anchor, align, and adapt. This is where structure becomes self-sustaining. So inside every boundary framework lives this loop, the process that keeps success from slipping away. Because that's the key. It's not that people can't eat the way they want, or they can't exercise, or they can't rest, or they can't handle emotion. It's that they're doing it and something happens that causes it to slip. So this loop explains why some people thrive long term while other people burn out after just a few weeks. It's how we make boundaries dynamic, not static. Here's how it works. Number one is what we call an anchor. This is stability through values. This goes back to our rhythm, alignment, and structure, just another way of thinking about it. Every lasting change starts with what matters most. In fact, the things that you do on a daily basis are the things that matter most. I know you don't think about that. You think, well, I'm doing this just because. No, you go to work because you get a check. You get compensation because that matters most in that situation. Yep. You stay up late because in that situation, that matters most. You snack because in that moment, that matters most. Every lasting change starts with what matters most. So we want to anchor our boundaries, those things that we're creating. We want to anchor them in our deepest values, our faith, our family, our focus. What is your why? What is the reason? Simply deciding I want to do this because my doctor says it is not a reason. It may get you started, but it's not going to make you not eat that chocolate cake at 2 o'clock in the morning. But understanding that I am working on my metabolism. I want to be around for my family. I want to be around for my children. I want to, whatever your why is, understanding that will make you not eat the chocolate cake. So anchors, these things, these whys, the rhythm, they turn habits into identity. You don't rise to your motivation, you fall to your anchor. Remember, anchor, just another way of thinking of that idea of rhythm, alignment, and structure. What is your why? What's your rhythm? What are you about? What's the goal? And then alignment. This is synchrony through design. Let's make sure the environment supports what we say we want to do. Are your choices, are your behaviors, are your routines consistent with what you say is your anchor, the why? Are the behaviors consistent with that? Shoes by the door. Because I say I'm going to go exercise because I'm improving, not because I simply want to exercise, but because when I do that, I'm improving my health and I'm going to be around longer. Notice what I did. There's a behavior that's not tied to just the behavior. It's tied to the reason for the behavior. I prep my meal on Sundays. Because if I don't prep my meal on Sundays, then during the week I'm rushing. And when I rush, I just grab what's available. And I know if I just grab what's available, it's going to be highly carby or fatty or whatever it is that you were working on. And that doesn't take me to being around long. My phone is on Do Not Disturb after 9 o'clock. Why? Because if it is, I end up getting into a conversation. I end up getting a ding, and I go to my email. When I get to my email, I end up going to other things other than the thing that dinged. And then all of a sudden, I'm on one of the social media things, and I'm up. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. When your space, when your behavior supports your goal, boundaries stop feeling like battles. So you want to design your defaults, because the way you live when you're not thinking determines how far you go when you are thinking. Because in the moment, you're not really thinking. It is just reaction. Yeah? So remember, rhythm, alignment, and structure. So we've aligned, so we've anchored, we've aligned, and now we're going to adapt. Remember, adapt is growth through feedback. We listen and we adjust. Your body, your schedule, your stress, they're all sending you signals, which is why you need a plan and a structure. Okay. When they do send those signals, we want to adapt instead of abandon. If sleep is shorten your fasting window. If stress spikes, switch to movement or meditation. Progress isn't the absence of error. It's not the absence of problems. It's not the absence of humps and bumps. It's not the absence of life. It's the presence of adjustment. That's what progress is. This is how design becomes alive. Those structures that they put up, architects will tell you, if you build a structure that doesn't flex, that doesn't move, you're building a structure that's going to collapse at some point. There has to be breathing room. Sometimes I'm watching some storms and I'm seeing some of those bridges, right? And they're swaying and, whatever it is going on. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I built that, I wouldn't have done that. But actually, that is the case. It has to be done that way. Because if it's so rigid, when blows against it, guess what happens? It collapses. This is how design becomes alive. It listens, it learns, it lasts, because structure isn't supposed to trap you. It's supposed to teach you. So we anchor our values, we align our systems, we adapt through feedback. That's how rhythm becomes resilience. So how then, that's the inner loop. So how then do we move from here? Since we know the framework, we've got the loop that powers it, let's put some rhythm into it, where these boundaries become living, breathing patterns for us. And this is the rhythm and reinforcement. Once a boundary is built, it needs rhythm to stay alive. I want you to think about your heartbeat. Steady, adaptable. It's not usually random. And when it is random, we've got a problem. We got to see a cardiologist. Boundaries that last are rhythmic. Here's the progression. There's a cue, right? A time or a trigger, for example, lunch hour. There's a behavior, your boundaries in action. And then there's a reward, stability and energy return. So cue, behavior, reward. That loop releases dopamine when that cue functions on a regular basis. It's predictable. The brain likes predictability. Dopamine is an interesting hormone. We always talk about dopamine as the reward center. That is, when we do something, we get a reward and it comes. But do you know dopamine is also the anticipatory hormone? That means when you anticipate something, dopamine is released. In fact, there's some thought that dopamine, you get more dopamine with just the simple anticipation of something. Think about it. right? You've been waiting for that trip. You've been waiting for that food. There was that thing that you used to do when you were a kid, and you're going back to do it because, by God, oh my God, it was so good. It was so good. I remember what it felt like. I remember what the taste like, that restaurant that we went to, and you're anticipating and you're excited. Heart rate is up, and yeah, all the dopamine is coming up. And then you go and you eat it, and it's like, oh. So you had more excitement about the anticipation of it, even more than you did when you got the thing. So dopamine, that predictability that happens when we have rhythm. I exercise every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I walk every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I fast every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. When rhythm and reward connect, your boundaries move from discipline to default. It's just a thing that happens now. And so to strengthen that loop, we pair each boundary with an anchor habit. What are those things that we're already doing? What's the default things? I brush my teeth and I do some push-ups. I come in the house, I put my stuff down, and I do some squats. Whatever it is, we pair it with something that's already there. So there's a cue, there's a behavior, there's a reward. So rhythm is the sound of structure done right. That's the rhythm that's going on. So rhythm maintains the boundary. But what happens when life breaks patterns? Let's talk a little bit about reinforcement. Reinforcement. So, because life doesn't respect your schedule, but structure can still protect your progress. He said it again, life doesn't respect your schedule. Life's going to do what life's going to do. But when there's structure, it still protects the progress that you're making. Every boundary will be tested. Every schedule, everything you put on a schedule, something's going to happen. You'll travel, you'll get sick, you'll face stress, you'll lose sleep. The goal isn't to hold perfectly. It's to recover quickly. Reinforcement happens when reflection meets readiness. And here's the pattern. Reflection meets readiness. Number one, you want to recognize the drift. So how do we know, right? So those are those guardrails. How do we know? Notice it early. What are your metrics? What is your mood? What are your meals? In order for you to recognize that, you have to be doing something on a regular basis that is assessing where you are. We can't live randomly. At your job, whatever your job is, there is some assessment being done. Does she come in on time? Is he doing his work? Is he meeting the deadlines? Somebody's assessing it. You may be the one assessing it, right? So when they do those 360 evaluations, when you're getting your pay raise and whatever it is, yeah, it's like, hey, they're asking your colleagues, hey, how you think you're doing? What are some of the things that you've done? Right? You're getting assessment. We do assessments for everything else other than when it comes to our health. And if we're gonna recognize when we're drifting, we have to do that, which is why I am so adamant about people monitoring their parameters, their blood sugars, their ketones, their weight. It's just an assessment. So recognize the drift. Number two, reinforce the anchor. Remember, we said that there's a goal. So go back to the simplest non-negotiable. What was the reason that I was doing this? Is that still valid? Do I need to readdress it? Do I need to shift it? Do I need to realign? So reinforce. And then realign the system. Adjust the plan. You're going on a cruise. You're going on vacation. It's your birthday. It's your anniversary, whatever it is. Make a shorter workout. Make a different fasting schedule, a different fasting window. Get more rest. We're traveling later this week. And so my initial plan was I was going to start fasting today. But we're adjusting what we're doing. That's resilience. The boundaries bend, but they don't break. It's how your design becomes durable. Resilience is what happens when structure learns. So now let's apply the stuff that we've talked about. Let's apply what you've learned about boundaries, right? Yeah, let's do it. So here's a practical application. So in real life, boundaries show up as habits that protect your purpose. And here's how you can start just now. Ready? Here we go. Number one, what goes on in the morning? How do you start your day? Don't start your day, don't plan to start your day with things that are going to push you off course. Don't start them with notifications. When I walk into the office, the most difficult days I have is when, as soon as I walk through the door, hey, Dr. Woode, this computer's not working, or this is going on here, and that's coming, this person called, and that, right? So let me come in, walk through the door, let me go put my stuff down. Same thing at home, by the way. So now everybody knows. Okay, let me say hi to him first. Hey, good morning. How you doing, Dr. Woode? How was your trip in? Right? Okay. Oh, by the way. So same thing on your phone. If your notifications are the thing that are waking you up, that causes a problem. You want to start with nourishing. You want to start with pouring into yourself, stretching. Open the window. Go outside. Stretch, meditate, pray. So in the morning. In the midday, protect your lunch as fuel, not filler. Eat mindfully. Don't multitask. Don't try to eat while you're finishing up that report. Allow your brain some time to relax, because what happens during that time, the cortisol is going down. And when the cortisol goes down, then you're more likely to have the capacity to absorb things that are going to happen later that day. In the evening, create a shutdown ritual. Don't just work up until the time and then you pass out in the bed. Dim the lights. Turn the screens off. Allow your body to decompress. And then on weekends, schedule some time for fun and joy and excitement. All work and no play make Jack and Jill dull boys and girls. Joy, fun needs schedule as well. Here's another story. One of my patients, let's call him Andre. He wanted to lose weight and reverse his pre-diabetes. He had great mornings, but chaotic nights. Those were marked by grazing, emails, doom scrolling, exhaustion, and he worked up until the time he just passed out. Then he got up in the morning, and then he tried to get through the day and absorb all the things that were happening. And the more he did that, the more his weight went up, the more his A1C was climbing. So we talked to him about building a simple boundary. Kitchen closes at 8 p.m. Phone gets docked at 8:30 or 9. Within months, blood sugar stabilized, mood improved, weight started going down, and he began reversing his metabolism. He said, Doc, it feels like my brain finally has quiet time. And when that happens, y'all, stress level goes down. That's the power of boundaries. They free your brain to heal, to do the things that it was designed to do. Our bodies are an amazing machine. If we give it space, it has capacity beyond our understanding. So peace isn't found, it's protected by boundaries. So we've seen how it works. Now it's time to make it personal. Your own boundary blueprint. And so here's some reflection and integration. All right? So before we build anything new, we pause to look inside. So take a breath. Slow down the pace of your thoughts. You've heard the science, the strategy, the framework. But this is where transformation becomes personal. It makes sense to everybody, to your doctor, to your family, to your spouse, to your kids, your mom. It makes sense to everybody. But does it make sense to you? Think about one area in your life that feels like it keeps slipping out of control. That one place. Maybe it's your eating schedule. Maybe it's your workout. It keeps whatever. Your workload is getting high. You keep saying yes to stuff. Maybe your emotions spike every time you get that notification or that comment. It's not failure, it's feedback. It's your system asking for boundaries, a design correction. When something feels chaotic, it's usually because we haven't yet given it structure. Chaos is just structure waiting for attention. Understand what's going on. Reflect. Where do you feel? Where are you finding those things that continually cause problems? And so now let's move from that reflection, because insight without implementation doesn't create change. On that reflection, what is it like? What would it be like if you didn't change? What does that mean for your goal? What does it mean for your retirement? What does it mean for the family? What does it mean for you being around for them and for the things you want to do? And then think about what happens if you do achieve that? If you do make the change? If you are able to stick to the boundaries? What does that feel like? And so let's go ahead. We're going to do our use it. This is our use it section. Let's turn learning into living. So right now, I want you to grab a piece of paper, grab your journal, grab your notebook, and I want you to open your phone. And I want you to write this phrase. I will protect my blank by blank. I will protect my blank by blank. It could be, I will protect my energy by going to bed at 10 p.m. Or I will protect my focus by walking after lunch instead of scrolling. Right now. Now, let's run it through the inner design loop. You remember the inner design loop? The 3 checkpoints that keep your design alive? Number 1, anchor. Is this rooted in your value? Whatever the thing is that you just say, I will protect my blank by blank. I will protect my energy by saying no. Is it consistent with your values? The part of you that doesn't change when life does. I am doing this because I am working on reversing X because I want to go travel with my spouse. And right now I can't do that because my weight is so much that it affects my knees. I can't walk. I want to wrestle with the grandkids on the ground and I want to go chasing them. I can't do that because I'm out of breath because because my heart is not where it needs to be. I've got neuropathy. I'm off balance. My blood sugars are high. It's causing other damage. I want to be around. I want to change that. I want to be better. Whatever it is, that's the anchor. Does the environment or the system support it? Are the choices we are making supporting that? Or is there friction that's waiting to derail it? Are our behaviors consistent with that? Every time you go to work, for example, you go because there's a reason. The reason for going is stronger than the reason for not going. You get a check. There are times when you wake up and you don't want to go because you're sick or something else is going on. You want to go somewhere else, but you still go anyway. Why? Because there is a reason for going. Are my behaviors aligned with my anchor? And then can it adjust when your schedule or seasons shift or change without falling apart? Is it so rigid? Like I only fast on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I'm traveling with the family or family reunion or it's my anniversary or it's my birthday or something else has changed, but I can only do it during that time. If that's the case, then that's not going to work. You've got to be flexible. And then you've got to understand when you are beginning to drift. As you go through that inner loop, if you can say yes to those three questions, you've just created a living boundary. Not a wall that limits you, but a framework that grows with you. A boundary written is a boundary that's built. Let me say it again. A boundary written is a boundary that's built. So go back. I want you to go back to that reflection question that we just had. And I want you to imagine those two situations. Number one, whatever the metabolic issue is that you're having right now. Think about it. If I don't fix it, if I don't get better, what does that mean for me a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Am I still around? Am I still functional? What does that feel like? On the other side, I want you to think about what happens if you can correct this, if you can improve this, if you can get better. What does that mean for you, for your family, for the people around you? What does that mean? So boundaries aren't about saying no to life. They're how you say yes to what really matters most in life. So here's your key takeaway. Freedom isn't doing everything. It's doing the right things on purpose. Boundaries are not barriers. They're bridges. They connect your effort to your outcome, your faith to your function, your dreams to your design. When you learn to build boundaries that last, you stop chasing balance. You start living it. So here, this week, I want you to pick one boundary. Define what the anchor is. Align your behavior and your schedule with it. And then I want you to learn how to adapt. Put something in place. Practice it. Practice it. Practice it. And remember, freedom isn't doing everything. Freedom is doing the right thing on purpose. And when we do that, we get so much joy and so much success in our health. And we live limitless lives. So that is the benefit. That's the beauty of what we're doing. And I hope you get that. We're not just here to talk about the fasting or talk about, what my blood sugar is and what my weight is. What we're here for is to help you to stay alive as long as possible and to be as healthy as possible so you can do all the things in your life that you want to do, all the things that you are called to do, all the things that you want to do with the family, with your friends, with your community. That's the reason why we do what we do. Because we want you to show up with your best self, your best health, your best plans. We want you to avoid complications. Create the life you've always wanted, and we are moving to another level. We are living limitless lives. Alive as long as possible, and to be as healthy as possible. Yeah? All right. So I want you, if you are committing to boundaries, you're committing to saying to yourself in your life, I'm tired of where I've been. I'm tired of what's been going on. I keep doing something and it works for a while, but it doesn't work, and then I throw my hands up. If you're saying, okay, right now I am going to do what I need to do, I'm going to create some boundaries. I want you to put yes in the chat. I want you to put yes in the comments. And I want you to take your journal, your book, whatever it is, and I want you to write a big yes. And I want you to be looking at that over the course of the next couple of days. That is your commitment to yourself. Sign it. Put a date on it. Look at it. That's my yes. Because I'm doing what I need to do to be healthy and to be successful. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's say I see some of our community members out there. Let's see, where were we? We're back up at Steve. So Jennifer, hey Jennifer, what's up? Jennifer said congratulations to Steve for the 2.8. Howdy y'all. What's going on, Jennifer? Hey Teresa. Hey Pam. Hey Doctor. Hi LLG. What's up, Gian? Hello. From Gian. Gian says hi Teresa. How are you all? Good. Glad to be here. Let's see. Teresa says hi Jennifer and Gian. Hi Teresa. Gian says define, design, defend. That's right. And Rebar said, woo! Hey, what's up? Thank you for coming through. Thank you for hanging out with us in this space. Hey, y'all, we are so excited that everything that we do is based on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, we encourage. We are looking to grow ourselves. We're looking to live limitless lives. And it begins there. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcast to change our understanding, to help us to understand how our body works. If we can understand that, we can make choices to provide tools, right, during the empowerment. If you know what to do, but you don't have the tools or the capacity or the know-how, that doesn't work. So educate, empower, and then we encourage with this amazing community that you are part of. You have the ability, let me say this to you, as you are learning this process, you have the ability to make changes profoundly for your community, for your family, for generations to come. Just by your decision that you are going to live a limitless life. Because other people around you need this as well. There are over 1 billion people, be a billion with a B, on the planet right now who have diabetes or prediabetes. We have got people who have heart disease, strokes, they're predisposed to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, they're obese, they've got fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, they have cancers, Alzheimer's, dementia. So all of those things are along the metabolic spectrum that we're talking about. And you can be the voice to say, hey, we don't have to keep going like this. We can be different. So we educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. And I'm always excited when I get to hang out with you and to be in this space with you. We will come back as we continue the rest of this week. On tomorrow, right, you get to see what I eat for the last time as I get into the fast for this week. So join us for our pop-up. On Wednesday, we'll do our pop-up again at 24 hours. And then Wednesday night, we'll be right here for our check-in at 33 hours of fasting. On the rest of this week, so Thursday and Friday, things are going to look a little different. We're going to be doing some traveling, so you may see us do something. We may do a pop-up from somewhere else. We're still working out what the schedule is going to look like for the rest of the week, so after Wednesday. So on Thursday and Friday, there will be something in this space. It's not going to look like it looks normally, but just go ahead and make sure that you get into the this week's videos. That's what's going on this week. Right, so the Start Here videos tells you the pathway that we've been on. But if you want to know what's going on this week, make sure you follow us in this week's videos. And if you've not yet done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe so that wherever we are and whenever we do pop up, then you will get that notification. Hey, I'm so excited once again. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Oh, before I do that, let me do two things. One, let's see. Two quick shout outs to two of our community members that we are giving special mention to. We've got Gian, who's on right now, who's in our community, our accelerator community. So Gian, so proud of you, so proud of what you're doing. And then Cornelia as well. And let me see, hold on, y'all. I had these done, so here we are. Let's do this really quickly. So here's Gian. All right, so here we go. Let's go back over here. Bam. So a quick shout out to Gian. Thank you for being a very special part of our community. And then to Cornelia. Cornelia, thank you. We are so proud of both of you as two of our community members. So I'm honored to walk this path along with you. Awesome. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you. As I started saying, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications. Go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. Now go live a limitless life. Let's take a look at this move promo, and then we'll be out of here. Good night, everybody. Welcome to Move, metabolic optimization via exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is Move. Let's get started.